You're easier and cheaper. It's hard now. You'll get those cigarettes.
I know y'all can hear us on the other side of this clock. Yes, I'm doing
Okay, how do I get it to up here?
Been there for 50 years, but getting there wasn't free. You spent millions on billboards, commercials, and ads.
Slow down
Tobacco
now.
killed more of us than drugs, alcohol, AIDS, or murders together has.
Do you have a, where's your notifications at?
So let us go to wearenotprofit.org to be
Dad, I
heard.
tested positive for COVID-19. What if I get you sick?
Don't worry about me.
But Dad, with your health
should say
issues,
that I
you have
tagged
even greater risk.
Fine.
I'm not taking any chances.
That was
We
hours
both
ago.
need to wear masks.
Okay.
I'm gonna
maybe
keep my
it's 'cause
distance,
of my
wash
internet.
my hands, and clean the bathroom and kitchen.
You know, somebody else had that problem
You're
too.
We need to
This
fight
thing
down
crazy.
touch and no
Just
more
know that
social
it is on your page.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Hey, you guys.
Are you ready?
I is ready.
Selling slack, selling slack, selling slack, selling slack.
It's Michael Blair.
Hey. And Agent Key.
Selling slack, selling slack, selling slack, selling slack, selling slack, selling slack.
Make sure the comments are on. Hey, Sacramento. How is everyone? You're listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I am Agent Key, and we are Selling Sacramento. If you are tuned in on Facebook, we are on Selling Sacramento on the radio live right now. And my in-studio guest with me today, Mr. Michael Blair.
What's up, Sacramento? What's up?
Hey. So you guys, today we are going to be talking about Aggie Square and how will it benefit communities of color. And if you don't know what Aggie Square is, don't worry, because Michael's going to give us the rundown. But it's a project that's been talked about for quite a while.
Yeah.
And it is almost on the scene. So before it gets here, I want you to get some inside information on some of the details, pros and cons. And Michael has a very unique position in all of this. And so I want to, you see, I'm jumping right into it because I don't want to waste any time, and I want to use all of this time so that we can talk about this project. So let me first tell you all a little bit about Michael. Michael Blair. He serves as Chief Innovator at Neighborhood Innovation Project, and it's a neighborhood economic development company that focuses on wealth building, education, and other benefit advancement initiatives for underserved communities. And I think I said that wrong, so I'm going to say it again: wealth building education.
There you go.
There it is.
There you go.
And
That'll work.
other benefit
That'll work.
advancement initiatives for underserved communities.
Yeah.
As a leader, Michael is often requested to contribute to various city, county, and state level think tanks and commissions to create solutions for community-wide public challenges. Michael holds a double bachelor's degree, ladies and gentlemen, in business management from CSUS.
Sac State.
Go Stingers.
Represent.
No, Stingers up.
Stingers up.
Stingers up.
Stingers up. That's how you
He
do it.
also has an extensive background in marketing and brand building and human resources for numerous Fortune 500 organizations. Michael currently serves on the Aggie Square Partnership Advisory Board, as well as other various citywide boards.
Yeah.
Welcome.
That's me. Thank you.
That's
Appreciate
why
it.
we have him here today.
Thanks.
Do you want to
thanks for
add
the invite.
anything to that?
Nah, that's good enough.
You know
That's-
what?
yeah.
That's quite a bit.
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
I do a lot of stuff in the community, and I don't really have a title, you know, because I just jump into all kinds of things. So I just try to say, hey, I'm just a community guy.
Yeah.
That's what I do. You know.
You're a servant leader.
Yeah. Where I see I can make some added value, I jump in, and that's it. So
That's good. I wish that a lot more people would take that kind of initiative versus looking for the title.
just
Getting in there and doing the work. So
Yeah.
I appreciate you.
Yeah, a lot of times, you know, you're needed on the front line, or sometimes you're needed in the back room where you're creating policy.
Right,
So,
where you're
you know,
not
I just
visible.
blend in exactly where I fit in.
Right.
Yeah.
We all appreciate that. We've seen the impact of your efforts, and we're going to talk a little bit more later about some other stuff that you do.
Good.
But we want to get right away. We want to start off with the Aggie Square Project.
All right.
So the first part of the show, before we take our first break, tell us what the Aggie Square Project is.
Okay. So it's different things to different people, but just, you know, my spin on it, it's basically you're trying to get the University of California, Davis, So let me go back a little bit. So Chancellor Gary May, he's over the whole UC Davis system. So that's the education system and the medical side. So it's a huge organization, right?
Right.
But he's at the helm, and he's a brother too, and he's not just brother in color, but he's actually a brother. You know, he actually is for us.
His card is not revoked.
There you go. There you go. He's official. He's official. So you know, he came in from Atlanta, and he out there built Tech Square. So it's basically the same concept, just brought here to Sacramento.
Right.
And the concept really is UC Davis, you know, what they do, they're big on education and medical. So they want to, you know, bring that together a little more, also bring industry in and community in. So those three components all coming together to merge, to create synergy, to just do good things for the community. And, you know, this project is really supposed to be something that benefits the entire city, but it really, you know, the heart of it sits in Oak Park.
Right.
So of course, that's the area that's going to be affected the most. And, but it's going to be a benefit to the entire city if it comes to fruition the way they're planning it.
Okay. And so you said it is a component of business, education, and the community.
Yeah.
One of the big pieces of it is the trend setting, the technological piece where it's a think tank type of project. Tell us a little bit more about that.
So the concept is you get folks from just, you know, various different areas, right? They all come together. So it's really building an environment where they can really come and merge. So you can have a location that's set up for different people to be there, but unless you're intentional, saying, hey, you all, this is ways we can work together. Let's purposely find ways that we can actually, you know, come together and work together. So part of it would be, for instance, a workforce development center. And that's something that the community doesn't have. And I know the city of Sacramento actually is just launching a workforce development. So they've never had one before. Right. Department specifically for that. So a large part of it will be a lot of the work that's coming through Aggie Square.
Oh, nice.
So once that's established, there'll be a way to bring the community together, upskill them, right? Get them ready for the jobs, and then put them to work. They say there's probably going to be, the number changes sometimes, but it's going to be anywhere from like 3,500 to maybe 5,000 jobs, something in that ballpark. And about 40% of those jobs will be positions where you don't need college degrees.
Wow.
And they're actually looking at some more of their current jobs that do require college degrees to say, hey, do we really need this? And they're trying to pull back on those just to make even more jobs available to folks without those degrees.
Wow. So is this happening? Did they see a need? Was there an assessment done? What is it? What are they trying to fill? What void, if any, are they trying to fill by this project?
I really think the concept is to find a way to benefit the community. And so, you know, UC has been in the Oak Park area for many years, but it's always been in the community, but not of the community.
Right.
They have not embraced the community, have not really made inroads. They're just not connected, right? So with this project coming about, and I think really with Chancellor May's, you know, direction, saying, hey, we need to incorporate all parts of the community and bring them in. So that's really the push. So all the meetings I go to, there's a lot of talk about community.
And with the project that you said, this project actually mimics one that's already in Atlanta.
Yeah.
How is that project going? Do you know? Do you have any?
You know, I've heard good things, but I've never gone down there to actually visit and see what's going on. But I've always heard positive things, and it's always tricky because you're moving in a project, and we can get into the whole gentrification piece because you know that's always an issue, especially in Oak Park. It's been that way for a while. Right. But anything you bring in brand new, then what happens is the area gets a lot of attention. And the property values go up, and then all of a sudden the landlords say, and the property owners say, hey, I could charge more for this because now the market is calling for it. Right. So they raise the rates on rents, and then folks who, you know, have been there for years with their families, you know, legacy families, been there 30, 40, 50 years, they can't afford to live there anymore. Right. Or even their kids go off to college to better themselves, they come back home, they can't afford to buy there anymore. So, you know, it's a situation where in the perfect world, you know, UC's coming through, and they're gonna bring that impact that's gonna cause gentrification. So if they were to control it, so if they would, you know, a lot of groups are asking them to, you know, take responsibility to say, okay, what are you gonna do for these folks that are displaced?
Don't get into
Okay,
that yet.
okay.
Yeah, because
Okay,
we
go
are
ahead.
now.
Yeah.
You're on Selling Sacramento. You know
That's
I'm gonna
right.
pull that all apart. We're
All
gonna
good.
talk about
All
that.
good.
So we are going to take a quick break, but when we come back, Michael just opened the can that we are going to talk about, and that's the actual impact that this on its face, on its surface, looks like an awesome project. Who wouldn't want to have something this trend setting right in your own backyard, right? But for every action, there is always a reaction. And so we need to take a look at that. And then there'll also be unintended consequences as well.
Yeah.
And so we're going to try to talk about some of that, peel those layers back when we get back from the break. You're listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I am Agent Key, and we'll be right back.
All right. Good. That was
you
easy.
started going in there. And it's easy to get me all fired up. So I was like, I started leaning in. I was like, Mikey, pull back. Don't talk about it just yet.
Cool,
we got to take a break.
No, you got to pace me, so it's all good. Because I'll just start to throw it all out there.
I know.
So,
and then I was going to go along with it, but then my internal ghosty clock said,
there you go.
Coming on 10 minutes.
Okay.
I heard it, guys. I heard it. Hey, everybody. Uh-oh. We got comments in here. I wasn't on the comments. Hey, you guys. Sorry about that. Hi, Valencia. Hey, Tiandres. Hi, Ryan. I hope you're doing so well. It is so good to see you, dude. Hey, Glenn. Felicia, hi. Hi. I'm curious how the community is going to be involved exactly. Are we talking jobs and services? That's Ryan. So we'll answer that one.
Okay, cool.
We're going to answer that when we come back from the break, Ryan. Excellent question. Appreciate the awareness, Michael and Keisha. Thank you, Larry. Good to see you, sir.
What's up, Larry?
Hey.
Oh, good, my brother.
So we're going to dig into all that when we come back from the break, you guys.
Cool.
I'm sorry, I didn't even know we were not on the comments. I got to remember to go to that.
It's all good.
Okay.
It's all good.
So I have the question. I didn't want to, I wrote them out and provided them.
Okay.
But
cool.
I emailed them to you without texting you saying, hey, I emailed them
okay.
to you.
No, it's all good. It's all good. These are very straightforward questions.
Okay, so there's nothing catching you by surprise. You're okay with them?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good.
I'm not Oprah. I can't get controversial with my questions yet, where people are like, oh, I'm going to call my lawyer,
You're very straightforward.
Well, and I got to cut that back a little bit because I don't want people to think if I go on her show, she's going to corner me with one of those crazy
don't
questions
call the show. I'm very straightforward.
that I wasn't ready for.
All right. Such is life.
I know. Well, I mean, hopefully, my goal is that people will know that this show is unbiased.
Good.
So you're not going to be able to come on here and tout a narrative,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
No, it doesn't make sense.
Because my BS radar going to be like,
We need more of that because so many, talk shows, the hardcore, right or left opinions, and they're just like locked in their zones and they're not listening to either side.
right,
I kind of like it in the middle. Just give it to me straight so I can make up my mind.
right.
Don't try to tell me what to think.
Right, and that's exactly what I'm trying to avoid, because even so, my own personal opinion usually falls, and I don't like to even say the middle. It's like what's right for humanity.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's people think I'm left, and then they think I'm right. Like I'm not a
whole new
Democrat
party.
or
There's the
yes.
humanitarian party in there.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah. Look into that.
We're back, y'all. Hey everyone, we're back. You're listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I am Agent Key. We are Selling Sacramento with Michael Blair.
Hey, we back.
We are talking about the Aggie Square project. And before we went to the break, Mike started getting into some parts of it that I had some, not necessarily concerns, just wanted to know in general, how is this actually going to impact the community?
Mm-hmm.
And before we went on break, you started talking about housing and how when you put such a huge project like this in a neighborhood or a community, it starts pulling in other big business and it starts increasing the cost of living.
Right.
That's making other property owners, i.e. landlords, decide, oh, well, let me go ahead and raise this rent. And then other people end up getting displaced. And there we have gentrification.
That's right.
You want to talk a little bit about that and then go into Actually, I'll let you talk about that before I ask the next
Okay.
question with that.
So yeah, gentrification, it's the city of Sacramento, as you know, Keisha, the housing prices were like skyrocketing at one time with, I think it was Vegas and Sac, they were like top of the list, just climbing. And so we were seeing some gentrification back then. Then things slowed down, but now the conversation is back on the table because specifically in Oak Park, it's been an underserved area for so many years. Even when the Triangle District came, right, where Fixins and U.S. Bank and all that is,
Right.
Old Soul.
The 40 acres.
Yeah, 40 acres complex. When that started getting developed, then it was causing gentrification then.
Right.
And so it's like the community had to make up their mind. Do you want new stuff or not? And so if you want new stuff, then, okay, let's work together and figure out how we can, keep people in place.
Right.
But part of it is the responsibility on both sides. It's the entity coming in that's causing it, and then it's the individual themselves. So, there's certain people who, let's say, are renting for life and just never take the time to save up the money and buy. So we have to take our own responsibility, right? And if we don't put ourselves in position, get our credit right, all that, then we can't afford to buy. And if we do buy, then no one can ever tell us to leave, right?
You bring up a great point, the personal piece.
Yeah.
So it's almost like you're living somewhere and you're paying $600 a month in rent, and you've done it for 20 years.
Yeah.
And I've seen this.
That's a good rate, 600 too.
Yeah,
Really
I've
good rate.
seen it. And then all of a sudden, the climate around you changes, the economic, but you've not been doing anything personally to self-improve, to increase your education, increase your job status.
To get ready for what's coming, ultimately. Making
assumptions that it's never going to change and it will be the way it is. And then when it does change and it has an impact on you, then is it fair to say that it's someone else's fault?
And then they say, oh, the landlords are greedy. They're just trying to make money. But, unless you know the business piece of it, if you only have one rental, maybe two rentals, you're not making much profit every month. And when the roof has to get fixed, that has to come out of your pocket. So when the rent goes up, it's because of things that we have to keep this house intact. You could say, hey, we won't raise your rent, but we're not going to do any improvements. And then when the roof starts leaking and all that, what do? Right. So I just think folks need to get reasonable on both sides. I'm not saying, either one is the culprit, but everybody has responsibility.
Speaking of sides, how many different committees on this project are you on?
Oh, goodness. So it's interesting because I kind of position myself in a weird way. It doesn't make sense to some, but it made sense to me. I'm kind of on both sides of the fence. So I'm on the Aggie Square asked me to be on their Partnership Advisory Council. So on there is like the mayor, Chancellor May, Supervisor Phil Cerna, Councilmember Jay Chenier, Councilmember Eric Guerra, so on and so forth. So all these politicians, right? And then some community leaders too. So I was chosen to be one of those. So I sit on that board. But then also there's this other group, Sacramento Investment Without Displacement. So this group is a collection of a lot of organizations that have come together to say, hey, we're okay with this project so long as it doesn't negatively affect the community. So let's work on what's called a CBA, Community Benefits Agreement. So that's basically a contract saying, okay, you see Aggie Square, you're coming in. We want to make sure that you keep these promises to the community so that helps benefit the community. So now that's kind of a struggle that's going on right now. What should be in it? Who's going to do it? When's it going to happen? So I sit on both sides because I think that there's a win-win there. I don't think it has to be either or. So, doing everything I can to help, foster that to make sure it comes together and we're all talking.
That's a great position to be in because you are involved in both conversations. You're almost a mediator, an unofficial mediator.
And sorts.
Bringing back,
Sorts.
Yeah.
And also I'm on a couple neighborhood associations that are in Oak Park as well. So that is yet another part of the conversation with the community. So it's kind of the UC side, the investment without displacement side, and then the community side. So I kind of get to see it from all angles. So talk a little bit about the investment without displacement side. What is it specifically that they want to see happen? What's on the table? And I should have brought my list, but I'll tell you some of the main things I can remember off the top of my head. One is like transportation. So they want to make sure, because Stockton Boulevard is already jam-packed. And with all these new jobs coming, there's just going to be more traffic. So they want to make sure traffic is mitigated to where folks can park, and there's appropriate parking built on the site itself to take care of all these new jobs and new people that are coming in. And then also it's jobs, and that one very important to me. So the talk has been since the beginning that jobs will be given, or some kind of pipeline built for the community, so that the folks who get these jobs will work close by. And it's beneficial for UC and for the individual in the community, because if you work close to home, you don't have to worry about transportation. You don't have to worry about if my car breaks down or whatever. You can walk, jump on your bike, whatever you need to do. And folks that live close to home typically, end up in a better situation. They could go home for lunch. They have more flexibility, that kind of thing. So it works out for everybody. So that, and then the main one that Sacramento Investment Without Displacement is pushing is the housing piece. That one's controversial because the problem is UC on the Aggie Square campus is looking to build housing for students and staff, which makes sense because that's what they do, right? They're taking care of what's theirs.
Right.
But the I want to say the acronym because I'm saying the whole name every time, but how's that? Sacramento Investment Without Displacement. However you'd say that acronym, right? Anyway, this group is saying, hey, like I was saying before, the impact that you're bringing is going to cause gentrification, displacement. So you need to do something for folks outside of your walls as well. Okay, now UC is saying that's the city's responsibility to build housing, not our responsibility.
Tell us, so that people have a clear understanding of what you just said. The project Aggie Square is being built on whose property?
Oh, okay, that is state property. Yeah, it's not city property. And if it was city property, the city would have a little more say so, right? But now it's actually state property. So there are a lot of policies, laws that they don't have to follow within the city limits. So they don't.
On the outside looking in, if you don't know this, you're thinking this company has come in and they're building all this stuff and they're doing this right here in this neighborhood, and they're not pouring back into the community. When in reality, it's almost like a private project and they don't have to report to anybody in particular.
And it's interesting because when it first launched, maybe I think 2 years ago, I'm kind of bad on the dates, but it was a partnership between the city and UC Davis. And so as it's moved forward, it hasn't really felt like much of a partnership, right? I mean,
explain that a little bit.
The meetings have happened, folks have been at the table, but UC's pretty much doing what UC wants to do. It's just moving forward to the point where now the two council members that border that area, Councilmember Chenier and Councilmember Guerra, they both kind of publicly said, hey, there needs to be a CBA. Well, that's something that should have happened a long time ago,
not at this point.
But UC's hasn't made that happen. And I know, in UC's defense, they're moving a huge ship, because just their what they have now between education and medical, just to run that ship alone is big. Then you bring in a whole Aggie Square component, that's huge too. So I kind of understand, but at the same time, they should have moved forward and made more progress in that CBA area by now, definitely.
And so with the housing piece, and I kind of stopped you before you got there, the investment committee, or not investment, the
Sacramento Investment Without Displacement.
CWID.
Let's say CWID.
Yeah, CWID.
Okay.
CWID is looking for housing. But you were saying that UC Davis is saying it's not our responsibility, it's the city's.
Yep. They were kind of somewhat open to it, helping out a little bit. But I think the expectation is, hey, you're causing this displacement, so you do something about it. And they're saying we can maybe do a little bit, but not much. But we have our vision on this project. We need to put all of our resources into this to make it into what it's going to be to really benefit the community. Housing, let the city worry about that. And then the city's saying, hey, we don't got the money to do that much housing. So, they're kind of stretched, the budget is stretched anyway. So they don't really have plans to build enough massive housing to be able to accommodate everybody who might be displaced. And what'll happen too is property values will go up, as I said, but there'll be just more demand. So even the folks that currently work at UC, making good wages, they're going to want to move to the area. So that's not only the folks that are currently in the area having to figure out what they're going to do, but it's new people coming in.
Right.
So it's going to be a big
so
big
Sacramento, the city of Sacramento will have there will be some ramification from this project that the city will have to deal with.
Yeah, absolutely. I think right now the attention's being pointed to UC, but I think when folks realize who is really responsible for it, then the attention will start to go back to the city.
You'd think that they prepare in advance.
Yeah.
Knowing that it's going to fall back on their lap. Yeah. We're going to answer a few questions that we have online. Let's see. So, Ryan Lundquist, hey Brian, I'm curious how the community is going to be involved exactly. Are we talking jobs and services?
Yes, so the plan, and I say the plan because this is just me talking of what I know and what's been discussed at the table, but it can always turn and I'm not making the decisions, right? So I'll say the plan has been that jobs will be kind of a priority for folks within that neighborhood or those surrounding neighborhoods. That's Oak Park, Tahoe Park, a couple other ones that kind of surround that area. So there's some type of system that will be set up, and I haven't seen the details on that. I don't even know if it's been worked out yet because the first building probably won't go up for another year to 2 years. So it's a ways out, right?
But that's not too far away when
when it comes to time to plan.
Yeah.
Right. So and that's another thing. The construction jobs, we're actually working on getting folks from the neighborhood to be able to be part of the construction as well.
Nice.
Right. But then once that's done and that goes away, then we're talking about the permanent jobs. We want a piece of that as well.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good. So.
Oh, I'm sorry. And let me add one more thing.
Sure.
So there's going to be like a community center, right? With, computers, after school programs, arts, all kinds of stuff. The details haven't been laid out, but there's actually a building designated for that function.
Okay.
So that's another piece. And then also, let's see, on community, there on the transportation side. So there's going to be a bus that goes from that campus, Aggie Square, to downtown to Davis, and it's going to be free. So anybody can ride it. So that's kind of a benefit to the community as well. And that kind of connects their Davis campus and their Sacramento campus as well.
Okay. So it definitely sounds like, and I shouldn't say there is always something beneficial that businesses and the city, when they come together to put a project together, can tout.
Okay.
That's going to benefit the community, right? But the seriousness of displacement, it already exists right now, especially in the Oak Park community. In the majority of the minority communities, it's a big issue. It's a big concern. As you said, UC Davis said it's not our problem, and then the city of Sacramento said, well, we don't really have any money to do anything about it. What happens next? Who's accountable? Do we just allow the chips to fall where they may, and then knowing what's coming up next, should we just be getting ready in another 2 years for another cycle of homelessness or displacement?
I say I'm not sure on the future, but that's very likely, right? But I see it as shared accountability. And, if I were to put I won't put percentages on it, but I will say for the housing, I'm going to say it's mainly the city, right? UC should have a hand in that and be accountable to some degree. What degree? I don't know. Everybody has a different opinion. But then also us as individuals, right? Because we know it's coming, and kind of what we were saying before, get yourself prepared, get your credit right, start looking for homes, start talking to Agent Key, right? And start to get it going, because it's a way to, it's also getting in front of the wave, because there's definitely going to be impact. It's coming. So it is an investment at this point. So if you buy right now, in 2 to 3 years, the property value is going to go up. I mean, we already know it's coming.
See, now you're talking mindset. Ladies and gentlemen, now he's talking mindset. Did y'all see how that switched right there? We went from the mindset of the person who is living in, what's that mode? Survival mode.
Right.
To a person who's living in, how can I get my mode? Come up mode. And so if this is coming, which is why we're sharing this right now, Don't wait for it to knock at your door.
Yeah.
If you are a resident of the Oak Park area where this is going to be coming soon, get connected with the city now, the program where they have, where they're training people to increase your skills, your work skills, what have you.
Yeah.
Join the organizations for financial literacy, increase your knowledge,
Yeah.
increase your value of what you can bring to the table.
And let me add to talk to an agent, because here's the mistake I made. When I got my first house, when I actually sat down and talked to somebody and got the numbers ran and looked at it, they're like, oh yeah, you qualify, whatever. And I'm like, really? I do? I didn't know I did. Mm-hmm. And then looking at it, I'd been qualified for years and didn't realize it, right? Yes. So I could have made that move much sooner.
Do y'all hear this?
Yeah, you just think it's beyond you, right?
Because where you were all of those years prior to the shift in your mind to, hey, let me go and check this out.
Yeah.
It's the complacency that we have. And I don't think we realize how complacent we are with how our life is going.
And just don't, a lot of folks don't know about all the resources that are out there, the first time homebuyer programs, that kind of thing, but you'll never know if you don't go and have that conversation.
Right.
So you need to just pick up the phone, call an agent, start talking.
Right. And so there is this piece where, as Michael is saying, we have a certain amount of self-ownership of what happens to us. Yeah. We can't always blame the city or local government or the government, the federal government, or the man.
Yeah.
We can't blame it on the man this time because we see it coming. There's a piece that they're going to be accountable for, but we have to do as much as we can.
Yep.
And then, figure out how the rest is going to get worked out. But we don't want to get caught just sitting there, not doing nothing, just waiting for the train to come run us over.
And pass us by.
Yeah. Right. So here's another question for you, Michael.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything that you see coming into the Sacramento community that is actually beneficial for our communities?
For the project or just in general?
In general, not just this Aggie project. I've heard about some others. I actually just saw on Mervyn Brookins' page, Green Simeon's company.
Oh yeah, Green Tech.
Green Tech is doing.
Yeah, that's my boy.
And so project like that, that's going to be a great project.
Well, there is $4 billion in construction coming to Sacramento, planned for Sacramento. So that's opportunity right there, right? There's the rail yards coming. There's soccer arena coming. Just so much opportunity. So
how do people learn about it? So we were just saying earlier, you don't know what to do unless you know. Right. You don't know unless you know. So how do they learn about this information? How do you know these things, Michael? How is it that you're just so knowledgeable about all these things going on, and you're muckety muck with the mayor and the chancellors, and
I find out that's what's up. I find out about stuff all the time. So there's just so much stuff I don't know, right? And I'm learning every day about a new organization or a new project or whatever. So there's no really one source. I just try to stay networked with folks that are in the loop as best I can. But also there's like the Sacramento Business Journal. You get a ton of stuff there.
Absolutely.
Sacramento Bee. So those are things that the main media that comes in, right? But then also our Black media, Sacramento Observer, Sacramento Culture Hub, the radio station, stay in the loop. Yeah. So there's just certain avenues that you have to tap into to be able to know about the local stuff. And with regards to being in some of these different organizations I'm involved in, it's really just being active in your community, because that's where I started. I just started getting active in Oak Park, and then that branched out into other opportunities, and I just got to know more about more stuff. And then I found out about all these, city and county commissions that I could get on.
Right.
And they're looking for folks because they need that public knowledge. They're not always looking for that expert. They want to know what people think, right? So they can be connected to what the true needs are out there. So really just, kind of piecing it together. And the more you learn, the more you do, the more you get involved.
So with that, that's actually a nice segue. I want to put in a plug for the Sacramento Sister Circle.
Okay.
Michael's talking about organizations and getting plugged in and networking and finding out what's going on in the area. And especially as it pertains to the November elections, Sacramento Sister Circle and the Black Women Organizing for Political Action, BWAPA, also known as BWAPA, they have put together a voter guide, and it's for this November election. And they actually have an event that's happening. I want to say that it's the 8th.
It's coming up.
Is it in a couple of days? I got to get the date right, you all.
Might be the 8th.
So they have, yes, it is October 8th. And so it's a voter guide launch party. And it is October 8th on Facebook Live. So go to either sacramentosistercircle.com or BWOPA, BWOPA. You can also go to them, check them out on Facebook, both organizations, to find out and get connected to the voter guide launch party. In this voter guide, I've already seen parts of it. They get into detail about what's on the ballot. So if you know that you want to vote, which you should, you're afraid of getting into the voting booth and not knowing what to vote on, and you want to vote your own conscience. You don't want to be told what to vote on, but then you also want to know, well, what items are going to be benefiting the African American community. Then you want to be in on this voter guide launch party on October 8th at 5:30 Facebook Live. October 8th, 5:30 on Facebook Live. Go to sacramentosistercircle.com for more information.
And, just to follow up with that, shout out to those ladies, because I know a lot of them that sit in that group, and just all amazing. And
powerhouses.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And the products that they put out, the voter guide really helps me out. It saves me time. Now, I think everybody needs to read on their own, but they do an excellent synopsis, and it's not really leading you in any particular way. It's kind of just stating, hey, here's what it is, just to let you know, and you're informed. So that's what I really like about it. So it's very helpful. When I looked at the voter guide, I think there were only 3 areas that I disagreed with, but the majority, I was like, yeah, I rock with y'all on all these.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is that here you've got this organization, these 2 organizations that have come together. Thank you, Christy Ketchum, for sending me this information so I could get it out on the radio today. And she also is another powerful leader for the Sacramento Sister Circle and in the community in general. And so you've got people like her that are coming together, going and doing the footwork, putting all this information together to make it easy for us to just peel it open and check the box.
You got brilliant minds like Dr. Flo, Addie Ellis, and all of them. I mean, they're just like super smart women with just bring so much to the table. So it's very insightful, very thoughtful. They took a lot of time to really piece things together, and really feel like, as you read it, it really feels like they're looking out for folks that are going to look out for the Black community. It's not just information, but it's, hey, we've actually analyzed this, and we're trying to see what's going to be the best fit. So it's not even always the Black candidate. Sometimes it's the non-Black candidate. But they feel that they're going to put more behind looking out for our community than they kind of point in that direction.
And not to take away from the topic of today's show, but it actually falls in line with it. We have to have demands. We have to have demands. If we're saying we don't want stuff to happen to us, then that means we need to know what it is that we want to have happen to us. And the only way that we know that what we want to have happen to us is by having a standard, by having some expectations, by not sitting on our behinds and wanting to be more progressive. And I really appreciate the culture now, because I do feel like we are building a momentum of being more progressive. And so as it pertains to Aggie Square, just kind of bringing the rooster home to rest. Is that the right?
Politics will be on a whole different
I know, that's a different show, maybe next Wednesday. Actually, I'm going to take a break. And when we come back from the break, we're going to close out with a few more questions from me. I'm going to see if we've got any in the chat, and we might take some calls. We might.
I told folks on the phone, if they call with hard questions, I'm going to hang up on them. So
y'all get ready for the hang up, and it's too difficult. You're listening to 97.5 FM, Selling Sacramento, KDEE, and we'll be right back. Let's see what questions we got here. Oh, geez. Okay. Are there Let me pull this up. Are there to be educational opportunities provided for the 40% of the job holders that are not required to have a college degree? That's a great question. Yeah. Michael, why haven't you run for office? You're a natural congressman.
Brother Larry. What's up?
Michael is amazing. And so, thank you, Mr. Lisa.
Yes, that's the homie right there.
Christina says, I've set their guide as a reference. Oh, good. Yes.
Good.
Hey, thank you, everybody, for tuning in. When we come back, we're going to answer a couple of these questions, and then we're going to let Michael go. We're not going to hold him too long. Busy man like this, we can't.
It's all good. I'm glad to break away and come onto the studio. I'll get out
We appreciate you. Yes. I just, I like to be able to.
I didn't do it.
You get to steal who?
Him.
Oh, really?
It's not in the mail?
It is, so we made a
Print a new one?
Oh.
Okay, cool. Okay. So yeah, we'll be done in a minute.
Okay.
I'll swing on
They
back.
know what time the show is over. Girl, don't come back in here no more.
Now you sound like somebody's mom. What I tell you, don't come back in there.
Right. They know.
He always trying to steal my thunder.
That's funny.
Yeah, so I don't want to get too deep on the way out. So I think the question that I'm going to kind of lean into is more ending on a hopeful.
Okay.
Kind of. I don't want to end on a damn the city, you know.
Right. Your city councilman now.
I know. Yeah. We don't want to get people in protest mode.
Right.
So maybe I will talk about what can the community leaders, city officials, and businesses do that will create an impact, a greater impact on the Black community financially. And so then that's just kind of like an op-ed, in your opinion. What do you think they could do? Because especially because you have that perspective from being, you know their inner workings and what's really possible.
Sure.
And then also we can talk, perfect. Then we can talk about Black Lives Matter.
Okay, cool. That'll work.
We can go out on that.
Yeah, that'll be a positive exit.
Okay.
Yeah, good.
I'm afraid to answer the call. I really am.
Then don't do it. It's your show.
Every now and then, I get a call that,
Right. Somebody just irate.
Like we all do.
Right.
Right.
I'm glad you all do. I thought it was just me. I'm like,
No.
no.
Oh, my. Get back on that bad. But.
Hey everyone, we're back. You're listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I am Agent Key, and we are Selling Sacramento. And yes, I hear the phones, but I'm not going to answer them right now. We need to get through a couple of these questions, and maybe we'll take a call. So if that caller is calling and you can hear me, hold off on your call right now and call back in a few minutes. Okay, so that was a real call, or maybe they just hung up. Okay, either way. So we are here with Michael Blair. We're talking about the Aggie Square project. And Michael has a unique perspective because he sits on a couple of the committees on the Aggie Square project board. He's talked to us a little about the project, and I shouldn't say a little, at great length about the project. And we've talked about what it's going to bring to the community. And I would like to know, from the unique perspective in which you stand, what do you think that community leaders, city officials, and businesses could do that would really have a greater impact on the Black community financially?
There's a saying that rich people get policy, poor people get programs. And if we have policy in place, then there's no more fight.
I just virtually high-fived him in my mind, you guys.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because we got programs galore. And hey, thank you for the Band-Aids, because we need the Band-Aids sometimes because we're bleeding. But we need to end all that Band-Aid talk and get to the policy. So
I spend a lot of time in there, so I know exactly what you're talking about. But tell the listeners, what is the difference between policy and program. Give us an example of the program that you're talking about. Programs.
So
and versus
program,
policy.
it's something that's in place temporarily. Like, hey, we need to do something, so let's do it. All right, so cool. You put a program together, so folks can take advantage of that. But it's usually limited. It's not endless, and then also it runs out of funding after a while, right? When the hype goes down, then it tries to get refunded. There's no hype, and it can't happen. So the program's just gone.
Mm-hmm.
So, policy is, no, this is in place. This is what the city will do. It is locked into the whole policy system. So you don't have to ask the second time because it's already there. Mm-hmm. And if we do it that way, we're able to stop the fight, because we always march, we fight, we make the phone calls, and we have to work hard, right, for a lot of things that we're still not getting,
right?
Because you never know, after you put in the fight, you don't know what's going to happen at the end, and then you get worn down, and when it's time for the next fight, you're not ready to stand up,
right?
So we can get the policy in place. And for instance, if, let's say, when it comes to dollars that the city and the county give out, we say, okay, X% should go to the Black community.
That's policy.
Now, they'll focus on a certain neighborhood, and they just need to take it a step further and say, okay, let's focus on this particular ethnicity. And, there's a lot of things that are already in place that we can continue to build from. So it's not like we have to start from scratch, because there's a lot of good programs out there that could lead into policy. So the framework's already there. We just have to get folks to listen, get to the table, and make it happen.
Thank you. I agree with that 100%. I think of the cheese programs back in the day. The cheese, the government cheese, that was a program, y'all.
Right.
When you see nonprofit organizations receiving federal dollars for quote unquote programs that they are bringing to Black and Brown communities, those are programs. When you hear program funding, those are nice, but we're choking off that because our communities are not changing.
Right.
They are Band-Aids, and
we're not seeing the fruit. We
require more than a Band-Aid. The Black community is a whole, full broken leg, and you can't put a Band-Aid on a broken leg. We need a policy
driven agenda.
What's the thing you cast?
Okay.
We need a cast on that mug. It needs to be reset, and it needs to have a proper policy cast on it.
Right.
I'm just using my little analogies to kind of make the point.
Make it visual. I like that. That's good.
So it's through these types of organizations like BWAPA, Sacramento Sister Circle, ADOS, African Descendants of Slaves, and there was another organization that was on the ballot. They were looking at 3 different ones. Was it NAACP? I can't remember.
I'm not sure.
But the point is that those types of organizations are pushing for policy.
Yeah.
They're pushing for policy, and we need to get on board with policy versus programs.
Absolutely.
I said we weren't going to go out controversial, but I guess I lied. Did I lie?
It's all good.
I'm sorry, y'all. So another part of that. So that's the part we want to put in their hands.
Okay.
But I like how you say we have a role too.
Yeah, absolutely. It's our responsibility because, from day one that we got here in this country, we haven't been given our due, and we've had to make do with what we have. So we need to stop asking and just start doing it ourselves, right? So what that means is running for office so that we are the policymakers, right? We don't have
grooming individuals to run for office.
Exactly. That and getting on the police force. And I know that's controversial right now, but the more of us that are on there, the more the organization will change. And just being involved in actually being our inside game. Being part of the system,
right,
and making it work,
right. And financial literacy, I know, is a big piece for you.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about Black Wealth Matters.
Yes, Black Wealth Matters is just really a concept that a few of us came up with to say, hey, let's pool our money together, pool our ideas together, because we could advance on our own and make power moves, right? But if we do it together, there's certain properties that I can't invest in because I don't have enough money. But if we all put our money together, then we can all get a piece of that, right?
Right.
So I'll still get a percentage, but at the same time, we're in the game instead of sitting on the outside watching it.
Right.
And it really, when Indivisible started their long ago, had an economic development piece. I was on that committee, and we were talking about building $1 million fund and being able to, do some more things with it and make some investments and get into investments like a lot of the IPOs, the pre-IPOs, being able to have enough money to be it's a specific name, a certified investor. It's a something investor. But anyway, once you have $1 million or more, then you qualify for that, and you can buy certain things that folks like us who don't have $1 million can't buy, right? So it just kind of opens up that opportunity. So right now we're working with a couple different groups to try to build those inroads, and we're actually making investments, some house flips and whatnot, doing some hard money loans, all kinds of stuff.
So you guys have a very active Facebook page, and I see the projects that you're invested in, the people that are working on those projects for you. Every now and then they throw in progress reports. And you see pictures of things and
really
construction projects, and then just updates on how things are going. So this is not an organization that's just talking about building wealth, but you guys are actually doing it.
And we focus on education. That's the main piece. Like, even if we don't make $1, we need to get educated so that we're building ourselves and building our communities. Because again, I think it was the 2016 Pew Research was done. That Pew Research group did a report that said Blacks, our household wealth was about 17,000, whereas the whites in that same year was 171,000. So whites have 10 times the household wealth that we have. And the thing is, the government isn't going to fix it.
Right.
They aren't going to just write us big checks to catch us up. So we have to do it ourselves.
Right.
And if we don't come together and pool our money together, pool our thoughts, our talents together, it's not going to happen.
How do people get involved with BWM?
BWM Investments on Facebook. Jump on there and just learn whatever you can. And then we meet every other week, every other Monday. So you can see our flyer out there that gives the dates. And it's free. Just come on in.
And so I pulled up one of the flyers because I was looking actually for some of the topics. I think I pulled up one really flashy, snazzy flyer.
Got some cool graphics.
So on it says that you guys are teaching stocks, cryptocurrency, real estate, insurance, and entrepreneurship. And you have virtual meetings Mondays at 6 p.m.
Every billionaire will have stock, will be invested or own part of the company, and some real estate. So we say, why try to recreate the wheel? Let's just go down those lanes and then add in other pieces as we want.
So that's what, talking about earlier, saying we've got to have some, where is it that we're trying to go? What's the expectation?
Right.
You don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
The saying is that success leaves footprints. And so we already know that, okay, well, this is the behavior. I like to talk to my children about this. When you're trying to be a successful person, you have to take on the habits that successful people have.
Right.
So if you find yourself in the bed still and it's 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock, you had sure better hope you're a late night, hard-working person, because staying in the bed that late is probably not going to help you.
Right.
My body automatically gets up at 4 a.m. But it didn't come, it didn't just happen. It was intentional. Because I used to be a 7:30, 8 o'clock person. Trained that way by what? School, right?
Right.
You get up by 6, be on the bus by 7, at school by 8, that kind of thing. But as you become an adult and you start figuring out what your strengths and your gifts and your talents are, it's your responsibility, not whatever is happening to you in your life, not whatever circumstance you're in.
Right.
It's your responsibility to take charge and control of your own circumstances and start demanding better of you. Start placing demands and being more disciplined in not only your time, but your gifts and your finances.
Yeah, because no one's going to fix it for you. Ultimately, where you end up is a result of how much work you put in.
Exactly.
So if you sit back, then, when it comes time to retirement and all that, you're sitting there with nothing, who are you going to blame? Who you gonna point the finger at?
The man.
The man
It's
again.
the
man
man.
strikes again. Right.
Yeah, that doggone man. It's not his fault, you all.
Right.
It's not his fault. There's way too much information out there now for us to be destitute and broken.
You know, people are upset about Trump's tax laws. I didn't like them either, but if you just learn what they are and then use them to their advantage, well, now you take advantage as well. So we have to just look at what's in front of us and start to not sit back and wait. Instead, say, okay, here's what I have. How can I make more of this?
Right. Well, you can get mad and point the finger at Trump and his tax laws if you're not even paying taxes. You're getting a check.
Right, right.
And I'm not knocking anybody, but just to say that we don't realize how we are all in different mindsets.
Yeah.
My life experience is not your life experience. It's not somebody else's life experience. And so, you can't expect me to think like you, but we can share experiences.
Right.
Let's share experiences and see how we can all benefit and help one another versus get mad because you don't think like me and now I'm unfriending you.
Right.
Right.
A lot of that. Right. A lot of that. Yeah. Just creating haters for no reason.
Is there anything else you want to add or plug today before we let you go, Mr. Blair?
I will say, so for Aggie Square, there is a website and it is aggiesquare.ucdavis.edu. Go there to get more information because everybody needs to get informed. There were a ton of listening sessions that we did. I think we got them to do like 11 of them in total. And so they got a lot of information, but it's one of those things where a project like this, no one is going to knock on every single door in the community and have a full conversation about what it's about. So we have to go out there and get the information. It's not always going to come to us. They could have done a better job in outreach, but it is what it is. So if you want to know what it is and you don't want to miss out, you want to be in the loop, you got to go out there and get the information.
Good. And it's coming. It's
coming.
Yeah, I like how you likened it to a big ship to steer. It's on its way.
It is.
And it won't be stopped.
Yeah. And last thing, get your money right. It's out there. We have all kinds of workshops. Neighborhood Innovation Project, we do workshops as well, all month long. So
how do they reach you at Neighborhood Innovation? neighborhoodinnovation.com. Yeah, just go out there and then click on Wealth, and then you'll see all the workshops that we have coming up. Awesome. Yeah. Michael, thank you again so much for taking your time out of your very busy day.
Thank you.
I do have to say that when I reached out to you, you always responded quickly, so fast that I didn't even know that you had responded. So I appreciate that. So I see how you do so much because you take care of stuff right away.
So everybody that I delay my responses on, I apologize. He just has a special place, and you got it's levels to this, right? It's levels to this. Not everybody gets that.
Okay, we'll delete that. We won't add that. I won't put that in the podcast. You've been listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I am Agent Key, and if you are doing what you were created to do, I will see you at the top.
Right. That was good.
Thank you. I didn't know. I'm sorry.
It's all good. It's all good.
I need you to lean in a little bit and let's do like a screenshot that's going to be a part of the video when we repost it. Hey, you guys, did we have any more questions? Hey, Mom. Policies versus programs. Aggie Square. Oh, that's me. Correct, Keisha. We are all different. Yes, Larry. Thank you guys for watching, everybody. We'll see y'all next time. So Mike is going to look. He's a natural. Bye, guys. Okay. In broadcast.